In this video demonstration, I'm going to show you a couple of different ways that we can use the brand new ribbon letters from the John Next Door Christmas 2022 collection. Now, one of the things that is different in this from an alphabet set or from sets I've done previously of sort of single letters is that this time you're going to get every single letter. So you get H, A, 2 P's and a Y. But you will also get M, E, 2 R's and a Y. So you're actually getting 2 R's, 2 P's and a Y. So everything you need for merry in a line, everything you need for happy in a line, and then everything you get, so CHRISTMAS for Christmas in a line. So if a letter is repeated in the word, you have that there. So you're actually getting everything. Plus you get an outside line square for every single letter, so you don't have to repeat any of those. And you also get the baubles as well. So you get 2 each of the patterned baubles and 1 of the plain for each one. And the letters are quite easy to use, and they can be used to cut into the card or with the outline to cut out to make a tile. So I'm going to show you here quite a simple but effective card I've made, just making a feature of that beautiful Christmas and using some others from the collection from this year. So we've got the fir trees and the outer from the twig wreath frame. So the first thing we need to do is to see how to cut our letters into a word but get them straight. So what I've got here is a piece of craft artist card in white, and this is in the coconut white essential card, and then one of the template sheets. These are absolutely perfect for this. So I've actually cut this piece down to 5 inches by the standard 8 1/4, and I made sure my card's at the same size so I can get everything nice and even. So we're going to start with, and I'm going to do Happy Christmas this time. So I'm going to start with the H first. Just make sure you take any bits out from cutting it previously. And we just want to use the lines on here to get them completely straight. But to make sure you get it in the center, the first thing to do is I'm going to trim this down to an even shape. So I'm going to trim this down to 8 inches. And all I do is put the template over the top and use a pair of scissors, or you can use a trimmer or guillotine, and then we've got 8 inches. So I want to know the center point. And of course the center point is 4 inches. So if I take a black pencil here, that is the center line of my piece of card. So I know that I want that to be the very center. And happy has 5 letters, so I know that the P wants to be on that center line. So choose whereabouts, which line I want them to go onto. So I'm going to select this line here, and I put happy on that line in the center, nice and even. And you'll notice if you actually look through the die, you will see either the dotted lines or the red lines on there. So they've been designed to work perfectly to get them straight. So I'm just going to tape the P down, and then I can work forwards and backwards. So I take the next square, which is red. I can see the lines through, make sure it's even, and tape that, and do the same with the Y. So the next line will be grey, and that means that I've got a completely even spacing. When these are cut, I'll actually have a completely even space between them. So we work the other way, and we put on the A, and this goes between 2 red lines, making sure we keep on that bottom line, and we tape that down. And the same with the H, which goes between 2 grey lines. Perfect. Once I'm happy with that, I take a longer piece of tape and I tape that down. And the reason is I can use this template now on lots and lots and lots of occasions. So I can use this constantly while it's taped down in there. And I will show you how to do that. So next we want Christmas. So obviously we need to know the center of that. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 letters. So there will be 4 on one side, 4 on the other, and 1 in the center, which will be the S. So again, I put that up to a line. So this time I'm going up to that grey line there, going between the 2, and we tape that down. That's actually not straight, so we'll just put that one on again. Once you've made, you spend a little bit of time making your template. Once you've made that, it's literally fixed. So then we work again to put the red lines on, and we stick that down. We continue until we have all of the letters done. And here I've actually got this already done with Merry Christmas, and I've used this on numerous occasions. As you can see, there's some little bits of card stuck in, so we go through the release holes as we would normally do and take any of those pieces out. And if at any point you're unsure or you're uncareful, you can always just add a little bit more tape on the top to keep that fixed. So now I have a completely straight Merry Christmas. So I can take a piece of card, pop this evenly to the top or the bottom, whichever way I want to do. I'm going to do this to the bottom, and then we simply run that through our machine. And again, these have been designed to fit through any of the machines, from even the smallest, so you can do them in strips. So I'm going to bring in my Kaleido, run this through and cut it. And I always go forward and back because it gives it 2 cuts and it brings it back to me, which makes it a lot easier. Okay. And I can then simply peel away my piece of cut card and take any of the pieces out. And because the paper that it cuts through is 90 GSM, although once it's cut through once, obviously it's not cutting through again, it gives you a perfectly clean cut every time. Once this is done, I can drop a different colour behind this. I could put some acetate behind and make this into a shaker card. I can trim it down and make it to any size that I want to. So we can see there, we'll just clear these bits away. I have my beautiful Merry Christmas, and I will grab a little bit of red just so that you can see through there the beautiful ribbon lettering of that. And I can use that, I can put different colours behind it. As I said, I can make it into a shaker card, and it works absolutely perfectly. And my template is ready to go again. Give it a little bit of a shake, little bit of a tap, and then just pop out any pieces left, leaving it in, and that's ready to make the next card. So that's perfect for making batch cards or anything like that that you want to do. So you could cut 50 or 100, and just remember, if it starts to feel a little bit weak, just add a little bit more tape over the top. And because the tape isn't touching the card, you can use normal sticky tape or something, although I would always use the low tack tape, as I always find it's a little bit safer. Once we've done this, what we can then actually do is we can actually just use this to make certain strips. So for the card I showed you earlier, we just had Christmas. So all I would do is, again, go to the back, pop that on even to one of the sides. I'm just going to tape it down so it doesn't move in the machine, and that way all this will cut for me is Christmas. So I'll pop that on, pop my plate on top, bring my machine in, and simply run that through. And there are lots of different things where you can get Christmas time. There are lots of different words you can actually get out of the letters, because you've got a lot of different letters in here. I know that Sam had a look and found, I think it's about 30 different words he could get just from Christmas. So just going to peel this off. Now I've cut this in waterfall glitter card, so I just have to ease out the individual pieces. And I always choose the hardest bit to start with, because obviously due to the film they hang in place a little bit more than they do with normal uncoated card, but they just push out absolutely beautifully. I'm just going to take the H and then I'll show you one that I've already done. So bringing in here's one I've already done. Exactly the same, and I've just mounted this onto a piece of coconut white essential card, so I get that beautiful Christmas showing and shining. So we have that one. We'll use that one in a second, but what I wanted to show you next was the other way that we can actually use these dies using the outside lines on them. So for that, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab another piece of coconut white card and I'm just going to trim this down. And what I want to do this time is, so rather than doing merry or happy or something like that, I think we'll do time. So I'm just going to take each letter. So I take the T and the outside. I want the I from Christmas. Again, I'm one of the outsides. I want the M from either merry or from Christmas. And take the outside. And then I want the E from merry. There we go. And all I do is take a longer piece of tape, hold it between two fingers and pick up the letter. Again, put it in the middle, pick up the outside line and tape it down. So T, I. I'll do the M, so leave them separately. Pick up the M, float it in the center, M, and the E. So we simply pick those up, tape them down. You don't have to tape them down evenly as I've done, but that actually makes a really nice aperture should you want to pop other letters behind that. So we're just going to, again, run this through, and this will fit through, as I said before, any of the size machines that you've got. It's relatively small. So we'll just run that through, backwards and forwards. And we simply then pop out T, I, M, and E. And all I need to do then is just take any little bits that are hanging around out as normal. There we go. Quite simple. And then I'm going to bring in my spray box. You can use any sort of glue to adhere these down. I find that spray glue is a lot easier. And there are two options for actually sort of sticking these on the back. So I'm going to use a little bit of spray glue. Make sure they get a good coating. And then I'm going to bring in a little bit of glitter card. And you can use the outside lines and cut squares for these. I find it easier to actually tape them down or stick them straight onto a piece of card this way and just trim them out with scissors. It's a simple square, so it's far easier to do this way. There we go. But you can cut squares using the dies if you want to, if you're not confident with scissors, and match them together. So I'm just going to trim those down and separate each letter out. So move that glitter card out. So in between there's my E, my M, my I, and my T. So I have T, I, M, E. And there we have our time and we have Christmas time should we want to do that. The other way we can use that, as I said, we can use this waste. So I'm just going to trim this down a little bit. And we're simply going to take each of those letters off. Just like that. And that gives me a beautiful little frame. So I'm going to cut a piece of card slightly bigger for this time to make it easier. I'm going to tape this little template down, and then I'm simply going to take out each of the individual letters. So let's take the pieces out. So I can then get the perfect place to put the T. Take the outside off. I. M. And the E. Into there. There we go. We'll pop those back onto our board. Although I store my dies in the die storage cases, when I'm working with them I tend to transfer onto the magnetic board so that I don't have to keep opening and closing cases, and so that I can move them about and make sure they go back down. So I'm just running this through my die cutting machine. It's glitter card, so I'm going backwards and forwards once or twice. And I can simply then take my card and my letters off. Let's just take that bit off first. So we'll pop out the little sections. And again, because I'm using a non-shed glitter card, you just sometimes have to be that little bit careful, and always push that from the front. Don't try and take it from the back. There we go. Let's get this T, the I out. Now we'll go with the T. And you notice the I has a little base on it, which obviously the T doesn't, to show it's a capital I. We'll take our little pieces out there, and then carefully, this is where you will need to be careful depending on your tape. I have found recently that the 3M removable tape does appear to have got a little bit stickier, so I'm a little bit more careful perhaps than I used to be with some of the newer batches. But if there is any glue residue left over, it's really easy to remove just using the Crafts 2 glue eraser, because there's quite a few. This is now feeling a little bit sticky, so just grab a glue eraser and that will take those pieces of glue off. As I said, I've noticed this is getting stickier, so I do find I'm getting the glue attached a lot more than I normally would. So we'll just clean that up, and then you could use a guillotine or a paper trimmer, or if you're confident with scissors, just to even that down. I'm going to apply a little bit of spray glue on the back, and we pop that back over as our beautiful frame, which fits exactly. And then we can again just trim using again a paper trimmer or a pair of scissors, and take that down, and we pop that again on a piece of white. There's a little bit of glue really showing there, so let's take that off. There we go. You can see there, or if I cut a little bit of red, because it wouldn't be Christmas without a little bit of red in there. It would help if I cut it to the right size. Sometimes not the sharpest, but you can see there we've got that beautiful time. So 3 different ways that we can very simply use the new ribbon letters. I'm going to clear this out, and what we'll do is, and pop those back for the minute, we'll just put the card together so I can show you two of the ways that we've actually done this. So here I have a card blank I've already made. So this is 8 1/4 by 5 1/4 to keep it nice and sort of slimline, almost like a DL size. Again, I've got one of the twig wreath frames put in silver. This is quickly becoming my favourite die ever. Just this single die from that set. So very, very simple. I've then got some of the fir trees, again from the 2022 collection. This time cut in white and chrome. So a little bit of glue in the middle. And these I just attach with flat glue. I think it looks so beautiful when they're just done very simply like that. So, and we'll have a white tree, and I think we'll have another little white tree just there. Keep it nice and simple in a 3. Okay. Then I've got my Christmas that we made in the mirror card, or in the, I should get the word right. So in the waterfall card, and we'll run that across. And we have our individual little letters of time. So I'm just going to turn those over and add some little squares of foam tape onto the back of these. I'm using 2mm foam. That's what I always tend to do because it gives me that little bit of depth without being too deep for postage. So there we go. And we'll just reveal the tape on that. And you could leave it just with Christmas, or you can put Christmas time on. You could put Merry Christmas. You could bring it down the side because the letters are flexible. There's so much more you can do. But I'm just going to go T, I, A. So get them in the right place, John. So T. I was going to carry off the end, but it would take it a little bit too far. T, I, M, and E, overlapping them a bit so you can see, and so it continues on. And there we have our Christmas time. And if you wish to, you could just finish that off with a little bit of the Craft Artist Crystal Snow. So I'm just adding a little bit on because it's completely clear. I don't have to worry, and we can add a little bit onto our trees. About the glue showing, it won't once it's dried. A little bit onto our trees. Scrap piece of paper, and then some of the crystal snow on, just to give it that little bit of sparkle and bling that we all know and love at Christmas. So a relatively simple and quick card once you've actually made your templates to make. But again, one you could batch make or really make complicated, depending on what you do. Just using the ribbon letters from the new John Next Door collection.